Hello and welcome to Unfiltered Dissent, the podcast where creators challenge the narrative and boldly speak truth to power. Dissent isn't just disagreement, it's democracy in action. I'm Amy Zellmer, author, activist, and an unapologetic truth teller. This is a space for creators and activists who stand in opposition to MAGA extremism and the forces trying to silence us. If you are someone who wants to resist injustice, this podcast is for you. Here, we say the quiet parts out loud. No censorship, no sugarcoating, just raw, unfiltered truth. So let's get into it. Today, our guest is Patsy Evans, who goes by Resistance Kitty, and we're talking all about HIPAA, medical privacy, and resistance survival. Patsy Evans is a therapist, activist, and unapologetic chaos coordinator for democracy. When she's not counseling humans through late-stage capitalism meltdowns, she's running Revolution 2025 and creating the snarky, sassy Resistance Kitty universe, where a black cat claws back at fascism one swipe at a time. She believes housing, food, healthcare, and education aren't luxuries. They're the foundation of a mental health and a functioning society. She's here to talk resistance, survival, and why your self-care kit should always include snacks and sabotage plans. So welcome, Patty. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I'm excited to dive in to this conversation. I think I just feel like a lot of folks have blinders on or are just simply uneducated and don't really see what's going on, with our big, beautiful bill, the big, ugly bill, and how it's going to affect us and our healthcare, and not just folks that are on Medicaid. Like there's things that are happening that are affecting every single one of us, even those of
Absolutely.
us on private insurance.
Especially those of us on private insurance, because our private insurance is no longer actually private insurance since it started getting subsidies, ACA subsidies from the government, and receiving their record profits from such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know that there's efforts being made to create like these medical databases, like I remember when Elon was still around, and he was trying to start creating like an autism database, which, you've got people that are divided, like, oh, that's a great idea. And then you have people like, oh, hell no, right? Like,
Mhm.
that's what we saw back in World War II. Um,
Well, with
so
great power comes great responsibility, and
yes.
unfortunately, we can't have nice things because there's still going to be 3 to 5% of the population that is pure evil and wants to take advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, back in the 2000s, there was a series of studies done on continuity of care for healthcare providers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the challenges that we face is the ability to see your records from other providers in order to make an appropriate diagnosis, as well as treatment options. There can be so many medications and treatments that are contraindicated for other things. And if, say, I'm here in Florida and I take a trip to Alaska and end up going into a coma, they would have no idea what are my medications,
Mm-hmm.
what are the things that I'm allergic to, and it ends up
Right.
with more medical errors. So as we started, as a culture, to become more digital, they decided to transition over to the electronic medical record and required that pretty much all providers go there. Now, some of the challenges that we've had thus far before we ended up with a fascist regime were the ability to prevent them from being hacked. It was constantly a problem, and there were data breaches, which, general medical stuff, most are like, but when we're talking about your sexual health and your mental health and And just in general, if you have chronic conditions or other conditions, privacy is a big deal. You don't want that out there. The other challenge we faced was the inability for the different electronic medical records to really communicate with one another, unless, of course, one ended up being the medical record for everybody to use. They're also very expensive to run. Well, once we transitioned all providers to the electronic medical record, now you can no longer even bill insurance without being part of this other electronic database that connects with your electronic medical records. And that is how you submit for billing. The challenge comes from several those little challenges actually could be resolved fairly easily. The newer challenges are what's putting this at a crisis where we need to get off the internet for anything medical that we're doing. For starters, most people don't know this, but Roe v. Wade was a medical privacy case.
Yep.
Once Dobbs overturned that was the first steps towards killing our HIPAA laws, which Project 2025 wants to do so much. That is a huge portion of what they're trying to do, is to be able to identify us, track us, and the best way to do that is through our medical system, because not everybody's going to get a driver's license. Not everybody's going to get a medical marijuana card. Not everybody. The best way is going to be through healthcare, because the majority of people get healthcare, and the majority of people are using health insurance of some sort, whether it be Medicaid, Medicare, or something out of the ACA. And so once Dobbs happened, we started the bits and pieces of slowly taking our privacy away. Now we have this fascist regime that is putting pressure on hospitals and pharmacy companies, and refusing for them to get their payments, refusing all sorts of things unless they release data. Additionally, when you use an electronic medical record, you are handing over responsibility to a software company, not a healthcare company.
Right.
A software company to protect these records. And although maybe they're pretty good at preventing hacks, the reality of it is their laws are separate from our laws. And they are going to dump and give them and give the government your data so that they can continue to function and run. We've already seen this happen with CVS and Walgreens, who have bent the knee and gave abortion pill data and birth control data to the government. We also have a company called Planter, which really, quite frankly, needs to go away. This is a terrifying terrorist organization, in my opinion. And they are wanting to develop a database that houses all Americans' healthcare records. Now, normally you would sit back and go, wow, this is great. Maybe it gives us a chance to do universal health care, and they're going to study autism and find what the cause is, #genetics, science, blah. But that's not what they're doing. Last week, there was an executive order signed that basically allows the government to take the mentally ill and the unhoused and put them in camps. And we already know that the Gestapo has been funded larger than 2 of our military organizations, and funded larger than most military organizations in Europe. And they are just kidnapping and grabbing people. So their goal is to liquidate the disabled. That's why they want this autism database. That's why they want to be able to check our medical records. HIPAA is just a myth at this stage. So I am urging other healthcare providers like myself to be done with it. just refuse to participate in plantar, and refuse to work the EMR except at the absolute bare minimum. So for me, I don't put every diagnosis on my patient's records. I don't. My records are bare minimum. In fact, it's usually something along the lines, what I send into the insurance is usually along the lines of worked on coping skills or inside oriented work. And the reason for that, and then what I do with the real notes is I have a notebook that I keep, and I write down in a code that I developed, and I make sure more than one patient are on the same page so they can't technically subpoena the pages without a level of redaction, and no one would be able to interpret it anyway. That I keep
because
separate. Go ahead.
I think what people don't realize to some extent is that your medical records, once you have a diagnosis in there or notes from your doctor, whatever, those are forever. You have to go through great lengths, because I know people who've had diagnoses put in there that they're like, where did this come from? I was never told this. And you have to go through great lengths to get that removed.
Absolutely. In fact, I refuse and have since the election to give any patient an autism diagnosis. And when my clients talk about getting testing and such, I tell them to absolutely avoid it. Do not do it, because they're specifically wanting to attack people with autism.
Yep.
They have made that a huge thing that they're wanting to do. They're trying to say they're trying to help, but the reality is that is not what they're doing. They have a disability liquidation plan. And they're trying to do it with autogenocide by taking away benefits and making it harder and harder to get medical care. But now they've got these extra bits to pick up the pieces. The other thing that I think is important that I need to mention is that we're not just talking Medicaid and Medicare. This is not right. This is affecting everyone with health insurance at all, because every health insurance company, all the big ones that we know, Aetna, Cigna, United Health, blah, 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 are all supplemented by the US government via the ACA. And they are already saying to them, you will not receive your funding unless we receive all these records. And, you know, I mean, my God, they estimate, they literally employ actuaries that say this many people will die if you cut this, and this many people will die if you cut this. So they base their profits on how much death can occur. So do you really think they're going to be giving up their record profits from the ACA?
No.
So no. So nothing is safe, which then means, once again, the poor and middle class are going to be attacked because they can't go to a concierge doctor who only takes handwritten notes. They can't go to a concierge therapist that's in private practice. So they're also trying really hard to shut down as many small practices as they possibly can as well, because it's a lot easier dissent when you have a practice of 2 as opposed to a practice of 20. And that's part of what's happening for them. One of the other things that concerns me, and it is semi-related to the HIPAA piece that's coming up, is HHS, the Human Health and Services, has a department called CMS. And this department is what tells insurance companies and doctors and other healthcare providers what's considered like standard of care, and also how to fulfill insurance, the things that are covered and the things that aren't, and how you're supposed to do things. And CMS has stated that now all Medicare services must be pre-approved ahead of time. They're also going to be using an AI to do the approval rather than a human, which now means that we have to jump through like 6 new steps just to do one basic item that is normally normal. And although it just says Medicare, the reality of it is all insurance companies look to the CMS to follow what the guidelines for practice are. And guess what's going to happen? Now they're going to follow suit, and every single service that you are going to have is going to have to start getting pre-approved. So less people are going to go after healthcare, and people are going to die. So instead of cutting Medicare, what they're doing is, instead of cutting it, they're just going to refuse treatments.
And, you know, people don't want socialized healthcare, universal healthcare, whatever you want to call it. They don't want it because, like, they feel like we'll lose control over who we can see and what we can get covered. But that's what's already happening here.
It's absolutely already happening. And what they don't realize is that in socialized medicine, there are actually options that you can still have a private health insurance and go to somebody different if you choose, or pay out of pocket. There are still all of those options.
Right.
And people on Medicare and Medicaid aren't displeased necessarily with the choices that they have, and it certainly is better than, say, $100,000 medical bill, which, by the way, now is going to count towards your credit report again. That's a nice thing they did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very bad. And so part of what we need to do is do not obey. Make sure that you are contacting the AHS. And what I'd like to do is, they have a comments section at the AHS. I'd love for people to all go out and give their opinion very highly about the medical privacy slipping away and what their feelings are about that. We need to contact our lawmakers, because as of now, I haven't heard a fucking lawmaker, none of them bring this up at all. Nobody has brought up medical privacy outside of the abortion picture. And this is so much bigger than that. We need the APA, we need the AMA coming out and saying, this is not acceptable. This is not okay. That medical privacy is a thing.
And let's even just talk about the whole abortion issue a little bit, because you're in Florida. And I had posted a while ago about, you don't have to answer the questions when you go to the doctor. So for women, it's when was your last period? You do not have to answer that. You can simply say it's regular, and, and I get, like, if it is there might be a situation where it is absolutely necessary, like if there's a specific drug that they have to give you or whatever. But cross that bridge when you get there. But what they're trying to do is use that information against you. And in the state of Florida, they were requiring girls in sports to disclose when their last period was. And it's like, that is so unnecessary. There's no reason a school needs to know that information at all for sports. The only reason they're doing it is to make sure it's a female, a biological female. And I mean, it's basically a way of checking the genitalia. And and then talking about sports exams and literally inspecting the genitalia. And what outrages me is that some parents think that's okay and acceptable. And and I'm like, never in my, like, I had pre-sport physicals when I was in school, but they never once checked my genitals. Like, no, this is not normal.
It isn't. It is not. It is not normal. And it's terrifying. And it keeps our children unsafe, both male and females.
Yes.
Because they're inspecting both. For what? They're doing all of this for, like, 6 athletes?
Yeah. It's something, like 500 athletes in the entire country. Like,
and these are kids. They just want to play sports. Leave them alone. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But
it harms females the most, because they're trying to keep biological men out of biological women's sports. And in doing so, they are then inspecting the females, right? Like they're the ones essentially getting punished for this.
I don't hear them throwing a tantrum about women playing in men's sports,
Exactly.
you know?
Or trans men using the men's room. Not a big deal. They don't care.
They don't care. They don't care.
But what's going to happen, with Nancy Mace and her bathroom policing, and you have
The
to
twelve
use
longer.
the proper bathroom. So now what's going to happen? Like, I mean, have you met a trans man? They you would think they're a man. And so now they're going to go in the women's restroom because you're saying that they're a biological female. And we're going to have the same problem, just a different story. It's just
garbage. It's just propaganda garbage to demonize a minority in order to align people against another set of people. They give them something to be angry about. I don't know about you, but sure seems to me that there are sure a lot more MAGA that are getting arrested for pedophilia and child porn and all sorts of things. I mean, my God, if you sit back and think it, I actually don't know of a single case of a trans woman raping anybody ever.
Yep. I even did some research. I tried to look hard to find a trans person or a drag queen. I was also looking at drag queens, and there is one instance of a drag queen assaulting someone, but that's it. That's all I could find.
Yeah, how many? I can give you at least 11 MAGA lawmakers in the last year who have been arrested for child pornography or pedophilia, which is, I mean, it just makes sense. I mean,
or that school board, the school superintendent, what was his name? Robert Walker.
Oh my God, with the 10 Commandments.
The porn. Yes.
In the meeting, I'm like, really? Or wait, no, my favorite is the Moms of Liberty people having
God, I forgot about them.
A polyamorous triad here in Florida. They were big swingers too, big in the swinging community as well. But sitting here going Anna Frank, the Diary of Anna Frank is getting banned, and what is this? The hypocrisy of the propaganda side, right?
And can we even imagine? So Lauren Boebert from Colorado, and she, got kicked out of the movie theater, 1 for vaping, but 2 for giving her boyfriend a little handy.
Her whole breast was out. I saw her nose.
But can you imagine if a male legislator had done that? He would have been kicked out of the legislator. She suffered no consequences.
Our president is a rapist.
Well, yes,
a pedophile rapist, and trafficked fucking children to fuck. Yeah, no, I believe it.
He's a whole lot of things.
Yeah, so and the whole crew, the whole cabinet is full of sexual predators. So that's just who they are. They're sexual predators.
And I found it fascinating. So actually how you and I met was when I was in Tampa with the Unfuck America tour. You knew Robbie, aka Gary the Guantanamo Gator. So you came and hung out with us and joined us.
I've been a fan of his forever.
Yeah.
And told him, if you ever come to Tampa, I want to buy you dinner, And so when I saw he was coming, I was like, ah.
And so when we had our event that night, the one thing I do find interesting is the one thing we're all seeming to unite over to some degree is the Epstein files, right? Because that's when that was all happening, and Austin, I can't think of his last name, but he debated Destiny that night, and he made a promise that if the files weren't released in 2 weeks, or Trump didn't fire Pam Bondi, or she didn't resign, he would donate $500 to the tour. And he made good on his promise. He did, yes. And but like it's really interesting how that is like the one commonality. But the longer this continues to go on, the more I notice that they're starting to back off of it and
They're shutting
backpedal a
down.
little bit.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry, Trump is definitely the stuff that he is doing to try and dissuade, to get people to stop talking about it is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. The nukes
Our
now tonight
$200 million ballroom that he's going to
the
add on to the
and
White
grandma
House.
has health care, please. Like, we don't need a ballroom. Go fuck yourself. We didn't need that
Oh.
military parade. Could you have just given the military a fucking raise, please?
Yes.
Please keep, could you maybe expand VA benefits, please? You know, I don't want my taxes going towards a fucking ballroom. And I
And
certainly
did
don't
you
want,
see yesterday he was up on the roof of the White House? Like, what the
what the fuck
hell?
is that?
Who let grandpa
What
up
was
there?
that?
What?
I know. I am fully 100% convinced he's not doing anything but what he's told right now. I
Yes.
think he's been done
Because I
for a long
mean, for the
time.
most part,
He's like
his
Weekend at Bernie's. They are holding him up like
yes,
Weekend at Bernie's.
yes, yes. Great
Seriously.
example. Um,
Because he's very obviously has a neurological disorder, and it's just not from his words, but we're seeing physiologically the
and
behaviors.
his congestive heart failure.
Oh, yeah, let's not even talk about that too. He's sick. They're holding him up like Weekend at Bernie's, and the people that are running things are Thiel and the Heritage Foundation and the oligarchs.
And I feel like his first term, even he was doing just what he was told, but this time around, it's even
It's
worse.
so obvious.
Hmm.
It's so obvious what's happening. First
And
time it was mostly Putin. Now he's got the heritage people and Putin.
the amount. Okay, so where did he? Scotland, when he just went to Scotland, and
Yes.
the Scottish people, like the newspaper article, the headline was like
Rapist.
rapist and predator from the United States to visit. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh fuck yeah. And then the bagpipers started playing their bagpipes when he was talking. Like, I mean,
All
that
on
is
purpose. Like, they know.
fucking
They
resistance. Like,
They universally hate him. Oh,
yes. But
you see
our
this
MAGA people can't see that.
oh they and the thing that cracks me up is that he keeps saying when he came and visited NATO, they said we're the hottest country ever, and I'm like, oh baby, you don't know what that means, do you? You think it means that we're sexy and wonderful, but the reality is it means that we're under a dictatorship and about to go to war. That's why we're
Oh
all,
Lord.
holy shit. It's like a hot zone. It's not a sexy place to be. No, that's where the epidemic is starting and where it's spreading around. So it's yeah, but it's pretty obvious. In fact, they're having the big meeting tonight to 25th him over at
Oh.
JD Vance's place. All the leadership is meeting with JD Vance privately tonight at his place. So I
Hmm.
suspect Putin's done with them, and I suspect they're done with them, and he's done enough time that they're going to throw him under the bus,
Yep.
probably with the Epstein files, I suspect, in order to, or that's what I think is going to happen. Is they're going to toss him away, and we're going to be so like relieved of all of that people are going to ignore the fact that the people actually creating this dictatorship are still in fucking power, that it's not Trump that's the problem. He's merely the marionette now.
But okay, so let's just say JD Vance does take over. So I don't think Mega is as loyal to him.
Oh, no.
So,
But
you
but
know,
the GOP will be,
yeah.
because they're going to all think that's what's going to happen. Is people are going to think, okay, now we have someone normal in there. No, we
No, JD
have a
Vance is not normal.
closeted homosexual couch fucker who is in an affair with Thiel and has for many years. They've been lovers, and It's the oligarchs and the Heritage Foundation that are creating this fucking Gilead fan fiction we're now having to live in.
Yeah.
So we have to keep on keeping on, and we got to make sure that any person who had any form of support, I don't give a shit what their party is, what their gender is, or who they are, but anybody who did anything to support this fascist regime at all has got to fucking go. Goodbye. And that includes compliance and people not actively fighting. For example, my Congresswoman, Kathy Castor, she can go fuck herself. I haven't seen her do shit. Not shit with fighting.
Yeah.
And she feels like her hands are tied. Well, then you go fucking protest. Go do your job.
Let's just talk about Texas for a moment. So we're recording this. Today is August 6th. I just want to put that out there. Because I know this will air in a few weeks. But as of right now, all those Texas lawmakers, the Democrats that all completely left the state, and they're threatening to sue them and make them all come back. But now just this morning they had a bomb threat where they're staying, and I mean, this is the first really big resistance we've seen with the Democrats.
Absolutely.
I've been like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we not fighting these things?
If any of them are watching this, you can have refuge in my home anytime, 100%. If I have to come get you, I will. I am donating to all of your campaigns. I consider you a resistance politician, and resistance politicians are the only ones that are going to get to keep their jobs, and kudos to all of them. If they need anything, they can fucking call me 24/7. Anytime.
AOC and Bernie are the only two who've and Tim Walz.
Oh, no. Stansberry, don't shut your mouth on Stansberry in New Mexico. She's one of my favorite lawmakers. Although she's a little quieter. Remember, I'm watching C-SPAN all day, every day, right? She is the most articulate and wonderful human being. She is so good with her constituents. She speaks truth to power. She goes out and protests. She is wonderful. So she has been fighting, and she has signed on to all the impeachment articles. She's angry. I never heard a woman cuss in my life. I heard her ever cuss ever. And I think I might have heard her cuss in the last couple of weeks. I mean, but she is wonderful. And she is actively fighting and working hard for the natives, our indigenous population, especially in New Mexico. Yeah. So she's pretty terrific too.
And even freaking Pete Buttigieg, who I fucking love him.
Me too.
But what was he thinking the other day when he was talking about trans athletes and how they do have an unfair advantage? And it was like, whoa, Pete,
stop throwing people under the bus.
I know.
That trans athlete conversation get brought up. The response needs to be, I am focused on the gazillion million Americans. I'm not focused on one tiny population, and that right now we have a bigger picture that we need to focus on, and that's democracy, because none of these other things happen without democracy. We can't protect our trans community. We can't protect women. We can't if we do not have democracy. So anytime someone starts asking questions about trans, gay marriage, whatever, it needs to get redirected to democracy. We need to not get sucked into their propaganda bullshit, because
he's usually so good at that.
I know, but unfortunately, the trans community has been the redheaded stepchild for fascists forever. That we had this giant transgender clinic in Germany that got burned down and destroyed by the Nazis that had decades and decades and decades of research. So,
history wiped.
Yeah. What it comes down to is, I'm sorry, I don't think that, from a science standpoint, we all start as women anyway. So let's start with that. We are all female on conception. Then sometimes there's a broken X and it becomes a Y. Not seriously, but that's what my mother-in-law used to call it, the broken X.
Well, and there's at least 6 no engenders too, that, like there's intersex, there's hermaphrodite, like
and this has been part of our history always. I mean, we have Egyptians talking about it. We have in ancient China, it was revered. In Hawaii, it was revered. It's only really the imperialists that had the problems with this for the most part, and the religious zealots. So at the end of the day, what we need to get back focused on is we have nothing if we don't have democracy.
Yes.
I am happy to process these issues with you, but I am not processing them beyond our need for democracy, because that has to be the number one tool right now. The number one thing.
Because if we don't all have rights, none of us have rights.
If we don't all have rights, none of us have rights. And so that's the proper way to address that.
Yeah.
Just like with the Epstein files, when they come in, well, so-and-so is on it. I don't give a fuck who's on it. We need
there are definitely going to be people on that list that make us very
Hollywood, sad. Yeah, Hollywood, Democrats, because you know why? Is because there's evil on all sides. 3 to 5% of the population is evil. It's just is. They're sociopaths. It's going to be this way. And often sociopaths are very charismatic and therefore and don't give a shit who they step on or kill along the way when riding a ladder.
Yeah.
And so they're the ones that get the loudest voices and so on and so forth, because they aren't ethical and are like, oh, well, you know what? Rather than buying myself a new vacation home this week, I'm going to go ahead and give my employees a raise.
Right.
So we reward sociopathy and capitalism. That's really what it comes down to.
Patty, we are just about out of time. We could talk for days.
Oh, we could. we could.
So I want to make sure people know how to find you. And I know that you're on Instagram, Blue Sky, X as Resistance Kitty. And your website is resistancekitty.com. And tell us a little bit, every day you are posting things. So tell us a little bit about what people can find.
So I started a movement called Revolution 2025 because which started off as like this link tree just to give people, oh, here's a here are some things, some boycotts you can do. You can do this, that, or the other, because I noticed that people were coming to me and being like, I want to do something, but I don't know what, and I don't have money to donate. I'm whatnot. So I was getting very angry after the election, and I realized I needed to channel some of that anger into something. And so I used the parody laws for protection and developed this character named Resistance Kitty, a black cat has actually been a symbol of resistance for generations. And she says all the things that I'm feeling often. And so you can tell what kind of mood I'm in because I make a comic every single day. So you can tell how violent she is, right? And so what that evolved into is then I started blogging because people would start asking me. So I started blogging and giving just a quick summary of some of the bullshit that's occurring in our fascist regime, and then an action item list underneath of the things you could do or not do. And then that evolved into people started asking me questions about the resistant survival. What do we do? So I started writing blogs about resistant survival, that is either ways to protect yourself, ways to develop mutual aid communities, or ways you can fight the government. I have a free resistant survival guide. It's free. Download it for free. If you don't want it, unfortunately, it does ask for your email address. Make a Proton Mail email and just use that to be able to get the copy. But it gives you 100 different ways to survive this fascist regime during the resistance. And then on top of that, I write a resistance guide Monday through Friday to kind of add, and they usually kind of mirror whatever our call to action. So today I wrote our call to action to discuss the HIPAA items. And then our resistance survival guide is about how, okay, so now what do I do with this? And so that's where it's kind of evolved, and we are completely volunteer run. I pay for everything myself. We do have a merch shop that does 100% of the proceeds go towards resistance things. Whether I'm buying, I have a case of Plan B in my closet right now that I'm hoarding to help give to people who need it. I donate to Planned Parenthood. I buy supplies for protests. I pay for all the like hosting and that type of thing for Resistance Kitty. So 100% of it does not go for any profit. I'll donate to Unfuck America. There's just various resistance items. I will not make donations to politicians. I only use the money towards resistance organizations. That's
I
it.
love it.
So that is what we do. That is the Resistance Kitty culture. So you can get the handbook at revolution2025.info, and you can always find me at resistancekitty.com.
And you created a resistance kitty of me, and I can't
I
wait
did
to share
make you a
that.
resistance kitty.
Yeah.
All my little resistance kitties are of resistors that I know. And so I take your personality and then I kind of put it out there and make it kitty for you. One more thing I want to pimp, and that is the resistance directory. Resistancedirectory.com is my baby. That is really the baby that I am. It is a directory for everything from resources. I have mental health resources, money resources, mutual aid, to what I call rebel retailers, which are companies that you can buy from that are resistors. They either produce products that are resistant or they donate to resistance causes. But you can find, I have all the resistance events going on. I have a whole bunch of calendars in there. We have organizations. So anybody who wants to do anything with the resistance, I even have a library installed in there as well. So we have like the anarchist cookbook, and I have,
I love it.
Yeah, we have all levels too. I have beginning resistance things, all kinds of training. There's lots of trainings on there for like everything from de-escalation to mutual aid stuff. It's really great. It's very big. We have over 1,000 organizations in there now. And so there's lots you can do. So as naughty as you want to be, or as safe as you want to be, you're going to find your chances in there. And I ask everybody, if there is an organization that's not in there, please reach out and give it to me, because I want everybody in there that we can have in there that want to be out and proud, and proud.
Yep. And that's all in your link tree, which I will have in our show notes. So wherever you're listening, you can click over to the show notes and find all those links. So Patty, thank you so much for being here today. This has been so great.
It's great. I hope I get to come back.
Absolutely. Well, that is a wrap for this episode of Unfiltered Dissent. If today's conversation resonated with you, please share this episode and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so that you never miss an update. If you'd like to support the show and help amplify more dissent, join me on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Amy Zellmer. Your support helps keep these conversations unfiltered and unapologetic. And if you'd like to help support the Unfuck America tour, please use the Act Blue link in my show notes, because it truly takes a village to support a tour like this. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Amy Zellmer. And until next time, stay bold, stay loud, and never stop questioning the narrative, because when we speak up, we don't just resist, we create change.